Hey guys, how y'all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic, and welcome back to the channel. And if you guys, it's another John Wick movie review. Today we're tackling John Wick Chapter 2. You're going to be seeing some more Ghost Recon Wildlands gameplay in the background, so make sure to enjoy that. Again, I'm going to be doing John Wick 3 Parabellum pretty soon here, so if you want to see that, make sure to, again, subscribe, hit the bell icon, make sure to leave a like. If you also enjoyed this video, it really helps me out a lot. And leave me a comment down below what you think about John Wick Chapter 2. So, upon, kind of finishing John Wick Chapter 1, which review is already out. I really enjoyed it. I believe I gave it an A-, and, I had a few issues with it, but I enjoyed it. It was a great action film. It had a pretty good story. But the worst thing about this film, or the first film, was the story. It wasn't bad. It was just not as good as the fight scenes were in that film. Thankfully, Chapter 2 kind of fixes that, and we're kind of getting a character arc for John as well as a sort of, story for the whole Assassin's Guild and all that stuff. And, this movie is longer than the first one, so there's a lot more stuff to it. Again, the plot is more meaty. The action scenes are even cooler, and, it's just a lot of unique stuff going on. Quickly, CGI, pretty much flawless. There's one or two shots where they kind of showcase, him walking, or you see, his house or something. You can kind of tell it's CGI just because it's a little too clean, but it's not horrible. You just kind of notice it a little bit. Acting, I think Keanu Reeves is a little better in this one than he was in the first one. Again, my only issue with the first one with him is that he was kind of like, "Hey, I'm John. Be seeing you. Hey, looks that way." It's just, that's all. He talks slow. He just says these little quips. That's all he does. This one, he talks a little more, so he's able to get more words out than just, yeah. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of neat. But, again, acting good for the most part. Everyone's pretty much good. The movie opens with a really cool fight scene where he's kind of beating up some guys who stole his car. Man, I don't know why everyone keeps effing with this guy, but they keep, take his car this time. So it kind of opens with a side plot. You know how, some Scooby-Doo movies the movie starts with the gang kind of unmasking a guy, and the guy they unmask has nothing to do with the actual plot. This is kind of what that opening is. Just kind of showing that he's not just sitting around doing nothing. He's always kind of doing something, which I kind of liked. I think that the whole beginning with this, setting up the plot before he goes to Rome, I think that's a little bit, not confusing, because it makes sense when you actually watch the movie, but as you're watching it, you're like, who the fudge is this guy? What's the freaking guild? What's the blood oath? What's the marker? What the heck's going on? And you finally kind of understand as the movie goes along. There are a lot of exposition scenes. In fact, I've heard, when I think of John Wick, I think of awesome action movies. And this is an awesome action movie, but there's just a lot of talking. And it's not boring, because it all kind of, fades to the story and all that. But there's a few scenes where they just keep talking and talking and going on and on and on. And some of that stuff is funny. There's a few, I think this is more successful in the comedy area than the first one, but there's a lot of talking scenes, a lot of restraint in some of the scenes. When it goes hard as fudge. But when it's not, it's not boring. But again, it's like Deathly Hallows Part 1. There's a lot of scenes in Harry Potter Deathly Hallows Part 1 where they're talking, or there's just long shots of them walking in the fields or whatever, and it kind of aids the story, and it does that here. But just maybe I wanted a little bit more. I would have done it this way. I would have had a little bit more action, not as many scenes like that. But again, I get it. You have to establish your plot and your world and your characters and the guild and the marker and yada yada. So I think that's pretty good. But I enjoyed for the most part this film. I think again the story is a lot better. Basically, this guy's like, hey, look, I got a blood oath. Here's the marker, which is that little. It's not a marker you draw in color with. It's a like a freaking medallion type thing. And he's like, all right, kill my sister. He's like, okay. So he goes to Rome, kills his sister. She actually kills herself, which is a horrible scene, yet a very kind of beautiful scene in a way. It's kind of poetic, as much as it is effed up. And then you get this sort of scene where, there's a lot of action scenes, of course. The action's really good. It's not as good as, Kingsman, It's more or less basic directing. There's not as many stylizations and cool flips, and it's not set to, normal songs. It's more normal filming, but it's not bad. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. The choreography is freaking nuts. Keanu Reeves must have done a lot of training, and it kind of pays off. You can kind of tell. The whole dog thing with his dog, I think, is kind of funny. How he doesn't name it, just probably because he's afraid of losing it or something. I don't know. That is just dumb. So that was kind of funny. The butler dude, the black guy, who's like, oh, hello, Mr. Wick. That guy. He's in it. I heard he does action scenes in 3. Don't spoil it, but that's what I've heard. So he's kind of like the quote unquote Alfred of the hotel that he kind of stays in, which is kind of, it's crazy how many effing assassins there are. You know, that one scene was kind of taking out the fat sumo dude and the chick with the violin or whatever. There's a lot of things in there where it's almost too much, because in the end, of course, where he kind of shoots that dude and he becomes, excommunicado, which is basically just he's excommunicated from the guild, because he kind of, shot a guy on their ground, which is one of the rules you can't break. And he's like, all right, well, you're effed, Blackbeard. He's like, you're screwed. And he's like, all right, well, whoever comes for me, I'll kill them all. And he kind of runs away. And the end of the film is a little weird, because basically what happens is he kind of calls a ton of the assassins that are in New York are kind of there, and he's kind of running away from them, because basically he has an hour to get away, because he's not safe anymore. There's no there's no protection. There's no safe haven. He's effed. He's on his own. He's running around. He's got to look for shelter and safety somewhere else. And I enjoyed that about it. It's kind of like The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight ends with Batman leaving, and he's on the run. He's on the hunt. What's going to happen to Batman? Same thing here. What's going to happen to John Wick? The whole world, every assassin is gunning for him now, because he's not protected by the guild. He's on his own. He's technically retired now. He kind of got fired, I guess. He kind of wanted to retire nicely, but he got fired from his job technically, and now every assassin in the world is trying to find him. So I think that was pretty cool that they kind of ended on that note. Again, it does leave it open to kind of, what the fudge is going to happen now, So I got one more movie, John Wick 3, Parabellum. Probably going to watch that tomorrow. That'll probably be up on the 6th or 7th. This is probably going up on the 5th. But I enjoyed John Wick Chapter 2. I really did. I think it was better in almost every way than the first film. The story was better. It's not confusing, but you can tell the writers, they didn't just want to make this film and go, all right, well, he's going to be cool again. They really wanted to kind of aid in the world and make sure the world building was unique. So I like that. I'm glad they made it. It's not like Star Wars or Avengers where there's like a billion effing things happening. It's more or less just, it's pretty cut and dry what happens in this film. But again, it kind of starts out where you're like, who's this guy? What's this? And then by the end, you're like, oh, okay, I understand what's going on now. So I was going to dock points because it's kind of confusing, but when you watch the film, thankfully, it all makes sense in the end. So I enjoyed it. I really did. I think, there's not many flaws. I think, again, maybe one scene with CGI. I think there's a few scenes that drawn out a little too long. The scene where he's having the drink with, I would just say, Common, his buddy. I don't know who the hell Common is. It sounds like a rapper. Basically, they're kind of beating up each other. They're fighting, trying to kill each other, and then they kind of bust into the agency area where they're not supposed to kill anyone or draw blood in, which, of course, we know he screws that over, that rule. But, there's a scene where they're kind of drinking beer or, whiskey, and they're just kind of... it's a funny... there's a few funny scenes. I think there's not as many quips in this one. It's more or less atmospheric comedy where, you see a guy... and you see them, and they're just trying to shoot each other, and they're just kind of looking at each other, or they're like, hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? So it's not like laugh out loud funny, but, it kind of breaks the tension a bit. Ruby Rose's character, I don't know her name, she don't speak. I was like, wait a minute, what happened? Maybe her tongue got cut out, or some gruesome, no, she just doesn't speak. I don't know, she just can't talk. Which, again, it didn't serve the story. It was just there. I guess it's kind of unique because not many characters just do sign language. So in that way, it was unique, but it really didn't make any sense for her to not talk. It was just she couldn't. So that didn't really aid anything. It was just there. Other than that, I enjoyed it. The really negatives, there's not too much. I think just the things I already mentioned, and it was definitely a good plot for sure. I think that it leaves it open to. What's going to happen in Chapter 3, we don't know. So, I mean, you probably know, I don't know, so I'll find out soon. But I'm excited for it, I really am. I think this is a great, a surprising franchise. I bought all 3, I'm like, whatever, the 4th one's coming out in 2022, I'll just have to watch it, it'll be a dumb action movie. But it's surprising, the plot that goes into this, it's not just fighting, there's a lot of fighting in it, but it serves the story, and the story itself is actually pretty good. I enjoyed it. And, again, a few negatives. I'm probably going to give this one. It was better than 1 in terms of how it was made. I think that, again, there's better action scenes. I think that it had a more cohesive and better plot. So for that, Again, there's a few negatives here or there, but nothing that really makes me go, wow, this is really bad. So I'm going to give it an A. You're probably thinking, wow, that's really generous. But normally, again, I'll explain my rating system. I normally take down a point, so an A plus goes to an A, and an A goes to an A minus. Consider that all the way down to F, based on negatives. And, let's say the CGI was horrible in this, like absolute trash. That's a big point, or the acting's really, really horrible. And again, Keanu Reeves is not a fantastic actor. He's just good. I mean, he's not. He's kind of just casual. He's not as quippy as before. But say that was really bad. Dock it another. Action scenes were really crazy. Dock it another. Plot made no sense. So again, but all of this stuff really makes sense. And the negatives that are in this film really don't contribute. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to think of the film. I literally just finished watching it, and all I think are the good things. There's nothing bad that stood out that made me go, wow, that was really effing bad. And a good number of movies do that. I don't just give good grades to movies. Just because, this is a really good movie, and I can't wait to see what happens. And again, I enjoy the action. I enjoyed the acting for the most part was fine, CGI, all that. There's just a few hitches here or there. But again, John Wick Chapter 2 is better than the first one in almost every way, and I really enjoyed the first one, so we'll have to see what happens with number 3, Parabellum. Can't wait to watch that again. Tell me in the comments what you think about John Wick Chapter 2. Pretty cool, now that the whole kind of Assassin's Guild is kind of hunting for him. He's no longer with them, and he's on the run. Again, pretty good movie, and hopefully I can't wait to watch 3, and who knows, maybe 4 will be great too. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.